The sky was burning. At least that's what it looked like to Tevanali, staring through the curved viewport of her descent pod as it ripped through the alien planet's atmosphere. Fire streaked around the metal, flames licking the sides like a living beast trying to claw her vessel from the sky. But she did not flinch. She was Saharine, descended from the sands of Varel, a world where survival was won by grit and silence. Fire was familiar. Heat was home. But this world? This planet was alien in every way. Ocean, endless, blue. It stretched beneath her like a living creature, shifting, roaring, breathing. She had seen water before, in rationed tubes and sacred pools sealed beneath temples, but never like this. Tevanali. The AI's voice chimed through the static. Prepare for atmospheric transition. Surface contact in 72 seconds. She adjusted her gloves, voice calm. Initiate deceleration. Target coordinates. Sector 9A, coastal ridge. Acknowledged. Warning. Planetary surface is fluid dominant. Local gravity within tolerance, but aquatic threat unknown. She didn't care about threats. She was here for one reason. The humans. The Dominion had lost contact with the outpost 6 cycles ago. Most believed the mission a failure. Earth, too wild to tame. But Tevanali wasn't here to judge. She was here to understand. And she was about to find out just how little she understood. The pod hissed as it landed on a sandy ridge, steam pouring from the cooling vents. Tevanali stepped out, her boots sinking slightly into the unfamiliar softness beneath. She paused, turning slowly in place. Wind. Salt. Life. Everything smelled wrong. The ocean stretched before her like a god, roaring with every wave that crashed below. Trees, tall and wild, swayed behind her in a language of their own. It was overwhelming, beautiful, terrifying. Her scanner blinked silently. No signals, no comms, no survivors. Only motion. Her eyes snapped toward the cliff's edge, narrowing. Something was moving in the water far below. Not debris, not a creature, a human. He swam like he was born in it, slicing through the tide, rising, diving, twisting under the waves as if gravity had never claimed him. The sunlight shimmered across his skin, muscles rippling, hair floating like seaweed. Behind him, he looked happy, free. Then, suddenly, he stilled. He turned. He saw her. Their eyes locked across the impossible distance, his wide with surprise, hers fixed with curiosity and disbelief. And then he vanished, diving beneath the surface, like a spirit fleeing the light. Tevanali stared for several seconds longer, heart pounding not from fear, but from fascination. A human breathing underwater? Impossible. And yet, she whispered to no one, "What are you?" Later that night, Tevanali's camp was small, efficient. A single perimeter shield shimmered around her as she sat cross-legged, by a warming orb reviewing the sensor logs. Again and again the scan replayed. Vitals, stable. Oxygen levels, saturated. Pulmonary function, anomalous. A human who didn't drown. A human who belonged to the sea. Her homeworld had no oceans. Her people barely understood rain. And yet this man, this Rinhal, if the scan's old Dominion file, was correct. Moved like water was his kin. Localized evolution, she muttered. Genetic variance or a sound, not from her camp, from the trees. She rose instantly, blaster in hand. The shimmer of the shield flickered. Something passed through it. Someone. He emerged slowly, barefoot and unarmed, hands raised slightly in peace. He wore no armor, no suit, only layered robes that shimmered with the colors of the sea. His eyes met hers. "Are you from the stars?" he asked. Her breath caught. The translator caught his words and echoed them softly in her language. She lowered the weapon slightly. "I am Tevanali, Saharine Dominion envoy. He smiled, and it was not a smile of fear. You wear the scent of dry storms. You don't belong to the ocean. She tilted her head. You speak as if it's alive. It is, he said. And tonight, it told me you were watching. She stepped forward, cautious but curious. I saw you in the water. You were breathing. That's not possible, he laughed, low and warm, the kind of laugh that didn't mock but welcomed. Not possible for you, he said, but we're not the same. He extended a hand, not as a threat, but an invitation. I'm Rinhall, he said. Would you like to see what the ocean sees? Later, she had never felt fear like this. The water lapped at her ankles as Rinhall led her into the moonlit lagoon. It glowed with tiny lights, bioluminescent creatures dancing between the rocks, illuminating his path like stars beneath the sea. Tavanali's skin crawled. Every instinct told her to run, but she didn't, because his hand was still in hers, warm, grounding. I can't swim, she said. You don't need to, he replied softly. I'll hold you. She stepped forward. The water rose, and for the first time in her life, Tavanali of the burning dunes surrendered to the embrace of the sea. The ocean did not kill her. That was her first thought as she floated in Rinhall's arms, the lagoon glowing around them like a dream. She had expected panic, the sensation of drowning. But the moment the water reached her shoulders, something shifted, not in the sea, in her. Rinhall's touch was gentle, guiding her as if she were made of glass. Breathe slowly, he murmured, his mouth close to her ear. The water listens better when you're calm. Tavanali's lungs tightened. Her people's biology was not made for this. But curiosity burned hotter than fear. Are you adapted? She asked, her voice hushed, half muffled by the lapping waves. Genetically modified? He tilted his head. Not modified. Chosen. She blinked. By whom? The sea. She narrowed her eyes. That's not scientific. He smiled, brushing wet hair from her cheek. Neither is falling in love. But it happens. The words struck something in her chest she hadn't expected. She stared at him, unsure how to answer. Rinhall didn't push. He let her go gently, letting her float with the natural rhythm of the water. The starlight reflected in her golden eyes, wide and searching. I thought humans feared the ocean, she said quietly. Feared drowning. Some do, he admitted, but not us. Not those who were born to it. The old ones called us Solari, the sea-kin. We hear the current like a second heartbeat. He dove beneath her with the grace of a creature that belonged in two worlds. For a moment she lost sight of him. Panic twinged at the edges of her thoughts, then he surfaced again, his face close. I could teach you, he said, not just how to swim, but how to listen. To the water, to everything. The next day, Tavanali awoke to birdsong. Real birds, dozens of them, nesting in the thick branches above her camp. She scanned the horizon, surprised by the softness of the dawn. Her people had no sunrises, only harsh daylight and sandstorms. This light was gentle, golden. She didn't trust it. Her wrist console blinked. Dominion High Command was silent. No new transmissions, which meant she was still alone. Technically, Rinhall arrived just past morning's edge, carrying a bundle of food wrapped in sea leaves, bright fruits and strange shell creatures that shimmered when touched. You're not used to this world, he said. You should eat something living. Living? She raised a brow. You mean raw. It's not dead if it feeds you. It becomes part of you. She sighed but accepted a fruit, round and glowing faintly. Its taste was unlike anything she'd known. Sweet, salty, electric. They sat in silence for a time. You don't ask many questions, she said at last. I already have too many answers, he replied. That made her smile unexpectedly. You're strange. So are you, he said, but you hide it better. She turned toward him, watching how the breeze moved his hair, how his body seemed to adjust to Earth's rhythm like it was an extension of himself. In a way, he reminded her of something wild, not dangerous, but untamed. "Tell me about Viral," he said quietly. She hesitated. "My world is made of stone and fire. We live under domes to shield ourselves from the winds. Water is sacred. A single drop can be a gift or a weapon." Rinhal was silent for a long time. "How did you learn to love in a world like that?" She looked away. "We didn't. Not easily. Love was reserved, strategic. Emotional control was everything." He studied her. "And you? Do you control it or bury it?" She didn't answer, because she didn't know. Afternoon. The coral fields. Rinhal led her along a ridge overlooking a series of natural pools. Coral structures, impossibly tall and glowing, reached from the seabed like living spires. Tivanali's scanner couldn't make sense of them. They weren't just reefs. They were resonating with energy. "Organic technology?" she murmured, frowning. "They're alive," Rinhal said. "Some believe they think." "Impossible." "Is it? You traveled between stars. Isn't it more impossible that we're here, together right now?" She glanced at him. There was something about the way he said we. They walked in silence until they reached a flat rock ledge where water met sky. Rinhal sat, feet dangling in the tide, eyes closed. "You asked how I breathe underwater," he said suddenly. She nodded. He touched his chest. "It began with a sickness. Our people were dying. Pollution, war, famine. But the sea healed us. It gave us something extra, something dormant that awakened. A mutation? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe it was a gift." He turned to her, eyes searching. "And I think it's why I recognized you the moment I saw you. The sea told me you were coming." Tivanali frowned. "You sound like a prophet." "No," he said gently. "Just someone who listens when the world speaks." Their gazes held longer this time. Something electric passed between them. Not a scan, not data. Just feeling. Nightfall. Confession. She found him again at the lagoon, this time standing waist-deep in the water under the twin moons. Tivanali stood at the edge, watching. "I should have sent a signal by now," she said softly. "Why haven't you?" She shook her head. "I don't know. I've followed orders my whole life. I never asked what I wanted. And what do you want now?" She opened her mouth, closed it, then stepped into the water. She stopped inches from him. The moonlight danced on his skin, illuminating every curve, every scar. She reached out, not to touch him but to steady herself. "I want to stop being a machine." He took her hand. "Then let the sea make you human." Her breath caught. Not because of fear, but because of him. And when their lips met, it wasn't sudden. It was soft. Like tide against stone, slow and inevitable. And they kissed beneath the moons and the ocean held its breath. It wasn't passion that overtook her. It was surrender. For the first time in her rigid, tightly wound life, Tivanali allowed herself to feel without filtering. Her lips against his, her fingers entwined with his, her heart hammering not from duty, but desire, not just for his touch, but for the freedom he represented. Rinhal was unlike anyone she had ever known. Wild and still kind, grounded and still ethereal. He was the very opposite of everything the Sareen taught her to value. He was water to her fire, and she was burning. Morning came slow. She woke wrapped in warmth, not blankets, not synthetic fibers, but a woven net of kelp and sea cotton, cradled in the hollow of a cliff near the lagoon. Rinhal was already awake, standing barefoot at the edge of the rock, arms raised toward the horizon. She watched the muscles shift in his back as he breathed deep. "What are you doing?" she asked, still half dreaming. "Greeting the dawn," he replied. "It listens better if you whisper." She smiled sleepily. "And what does it say today?" He turned, his expression shifting. "It says something is coming." Something that doesn't belong. Her heart sank. The words struck like a signal ping. She activated her console. New transmission. Priority alert. Dominion scout en route. Contact. Window, 6 hours. Extraction authorized. She sat up slowly, the light fading from her eyes. Her people were coming, and they would not understand this place. They would not understand him. Hours later, the Divide Rinhall walked beside her through the glistening tide fields, but something between them had changed. Tivanali kept glancing at her console, fingers twitching, calculating scenarios. Dominion. Protocols demanded a full planetary analysis, a report on survivors, technology, and threats. But what if the only threat was misunderstanding? You haven't spoken much since this morning, he said. I'm being recalled. He stopped, walking. They found you, she nodded, his jaw tensed. What will they do when they see this place? Scan, extract, possibly occupy. He looked away. And what will they do with me? She hesitated. Catalog, question, maybe more. His voice dropped. Will you let them? She didn't answer, because she didn't know. Later, beneath the reef, she followed him into deeper waters, past the cliffs, beyond the coral spires, to a cavern hidden beneath layers of glowing stone. The water turned violet here, shimmering with a strange pulse. Her suit adjusted automatically, filtering oxygen as she swam. The walls were covered in markings, etched in the coral like language, glowing faintly. What is this place? She asked, floating beside him. The memory shell, Rinhall whispered. Our ancestors spoke through light, stories passed down through coral. Each line holds the shape of a soul. Her fingers brushed one symbol. The coral shimmered. And suddenly, she saw a vision. Brief. Blinding. A human figure, eyes glowing with starlight, standing before a crashing wave that split the sky. Voices cried out, not words, emotion, fear, awe, love. She gasped and stumbled backward in the water. Rinhall caught her. You touched a root memory. What was that? She breathed. Our origin. Tivanali stared at the wall. You weren't born here. He nodded slowly. The Solari were not created by Earth. We came from somewhere else. Crashed, lost, forgotten. The sea didn't just heal us. It changed us. She shivered. You're not just humans adapted to water. You're a different species. We're a bridge, he said, between what we were and what we could be. That evening, the choice back at the ridge, she stood alone, her console blinking. The extraction shuttle would arrive in under an hour. Protocol demanded she return. Bring a report, submit findings, but she looked at the ocean and saw something else. Peace, possibility, a life beyond obedience. And then he was there. Rinhall didn't speak. He just stood beside her, waiting. I was trained to obey, she whispered. From the moment I could walk. Feelings were considered false, attachment was a distraction, love, weakness. And now, he asked, she turned to him. Now I'm wondering if love is the only thing that made me human. He stepped closer, lifting her hand to his chest. You're not weak, Tivanali. You're just waking up. She leaned in. I don't want to lose you. Then don't. But my people will have to choose, just like you. The shuttle arrived in a thunder of dust and light. Tivanali stood between the ocean and the ship. Her superior's voice rang through the comms, sharp and clear. Captain Tivanali, confirm presence, upload data immediately. Prepare for departure. She looked at Rinhall, who stood silently behind her. Then she turned off the console and walked back toward him. The wind changed when the Dominion arrived, not just the air but the pressure of the world itself. Tivanali could feel it in her bones as the shuttle descended like a dagger through the sky. Sleek, silent, cold. Dominion ships were made to command attention, not through beauty, but precision. Every angle sharp, every light efficient. She had once found comfort in that structure. Now it only felt like a cage returning to close. She stood at the cliff's edge, Rinhall at her side, both watching as the vessel touched down with a hiss of steam and sand. The hatch opened. From within stepped a woman in crimson command robes, Vashtari, Tivanali's former superior. She wore the expression of someone who had long ago forgotten what it meant to feel. "Agent Tivanali," she said flatly. "Report." Tivanali didn't move. "I have no report." Vashtari blinked. "You were ordered to scan, record, and return. You've been silent for 2 full cycles." "I made a choice," Tivanali said softly. Now the commander noticed Rinhall, her eyes narrowed. "That's the human, the anomaly." "No," Tivanali replied. "He's not an anomaly. He's a beginning." Conflict rose like a storm. Vashtari's guards fanned out, weapons drawn. Rinhall stepped in front of Tivanali without hesitation, unarmed, unafraid. "You will come with us," Vashtari ordered. "The subject will be contained, studied. His physiology could advance Dominion tech by decades." Tivanali's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "No." Vashtari turned, stunned. "Excuse me?" "I said no. I will not allow it. He is not your subject. This is not your world. You're out of line. I'm not your weapon anymore." Vashtari raised a hand, signaling her guards. That's when it happened. The sea rose. It didn't crash. It didn't roar. It simply rose. A wave taller than... The shuttle shimmered into being. Silent, glowing, impossibly still. And from within its depths, light. Not sunlight. Not firelight. But memory. Images flowed within the wall of water. Ships crashing. Humans walking into the sea. Gills forming along their necks. Children swimming in light-filled caves. The Solari. The true history of the ocean people. Vashtari stumbled back, eyes wide. Her guards froze. Tivanali stepped forward, the sea at her back. "This world remembers everything, and it chooses." Rinhall's voice joined hers. "You came to take. But this planet doesn't belong to conquerors. It belongs to those who listen." The sea began to recede, but not before touching each of the guards with a single thread of glowing water. They staggered, suddenly dazed. One by one, they lowered their weapons. Vashtari, shaking, turned back to the shuttle. "We're leaving." Later, at the shoreline, the shuttle disappeared into the sky, silent once more. Tivanali sat beside Rinhall, barefoot on the wet stone, watching the horizon. "You'll be marked as a traitor," he said gently. "I don't care," she whispered. "For once I made a choice for myself." He reached over, his hand brushing hers. "What will you do now?" She smiled faintly. "Stay. Here. With you." He leaned into her shoulder, his voice barely audible. "Then I'll teach you to breathe, not just in water, but in life." Weeks passed. Tivanali no longer counted time in cycles, but in tides. Her skin darkened beneath Earth's sun. Her breath deepened. Her laughter, something she'd forgotten, returned. And slowly she learned to swim, to float, to breathe underwater, not literally, not yet, but with the ease of someone no longer afraid to let go. Her body remained serene, but her soul began to echo with something new. The sea changed her, not by force but by invitation. One day, in the deep, they swam together into the heart of the coral caverns. This time she touched the wall not with hesitation, but trust. And the coral responded. A vision bloomed. Her face, Rinhall's, standing together in a city of sea and starlight. Children with silver eyes and golden skin laughing as they floated between pillars of light. A future not of war or dominance, but of harmony, of balance, of love. Years later, a new dawn. Above the surface, the Dominion still moved among stars, seeking control, seeking order, but they had learned to leave this planet alone, too wild, too strange, too alive, and beneath the waves, a new people flourished, not humans, not Saharine, something between, something more. And on quiet mornings when the sun rose gently over the tide, a voice could sometimes be heard saying, "Wait, humans can breathe underwater?" And somewhere in the deep, a woman who once came from fire smiled. "No," she whispered, "but love can." The end.